So my name is John Clay Wolfe, and I'm the largest wholesale independent dealer in the world at this point. We buy and sell. Last year we did 53,000 transactions for right at $2 billion. I believe it was 1.96 billion. And it feels good to say that. I've been at this a long time. It was a vision I had for years. My stepdad was a Wall Street trader. He had a seat on the New York Stock Exchange, which would be like having a lane at Manheim, Pennsylvania. And I used to go down to Wall Street with him. I've always been a car nut. That was the job I was going to do. And then I got caught up in this car thing. I was like, how can I commoditize the VIN? How can I turn this auto wholesale transaction more into a organized commodity exchange like what I've seen up in Wall Street? And if you look at our setup inside of Manheim, Dallas, it looks a lot like a New York Stock Exchange terminal. The design on it was kind of like a sports book. I wanted a New York Stock Exchange terminal feel with a sports book, but we have the ability to have 9 lanes rolling within, 100 foot of each other. I hated Manheim. I started at Manheim in the first part of my career. They hurt my feelings for whatever reasons. I left. The new crew came on. Rich Curtis and Maxine Main came on to fix Manheim, Dallas. I think at the time it was ranked number 18th in the country. PA was number 1, Florida was number 2, Riverside was number 3, but Dallas had really lost its luster. I was the number 1 seller in the market at Metro Auto Auction, which under GiveMeTheVIN, which was a Berkshire Hathaway auction. And they just started recruiting me. And I was like, I don't want to come back. I don't trust you guys. I've been there, I've done that. I'm not going to get remarried to my ex-wife. And I did. Rich convinced me that it was a new regime and a new program. Bob Hollinshead up in PA, he's, you have different mentors at different stages in life. And I cold called this guy one day. And I'm like, hey, my name's John Clay Wolfe, and I'm really impressed with what you do. I do a radio show on the weekends where I bid cars on the air, and I think it would be a great product to merge with your Auto Trader product called Trade and Marketplace that he'd rolled out with Auto Trader. And he said, Johnny, I love your show. I listen to your show. You're a smart guy. He said, but you're too edgy and too rough. Cox will never go for it. Auto Trader will never go for it. But I'm so glad you called me. And he became my best friend that day. He has that ability to become everybody's best friend. So I felt like we were a little better friends than we were. But 12 years later, he's like a dad. I mean, this guy taught me, using a bad golf analogy, he taught me how to swing that club. He taught me where to put your toes. He taught me how to grip the glove. He told me how to smell the wind. Everything I had in my mind of what I wanted to do, he would validate that you're on the right track, and he would give me pointers on it. Because this guy would take a group of cars and straight sell them through Manheim, Pennsylvania, and I've never seen that done before. I didn't think it was real. That's really what I was trying to investigate, is how is this going on? There's got to be a charade. This can't be real, because in the world of wholesale, you don't sell 100% or 97%. You sell 50. 60 is a good day. And this guy's moving 100 granders at 100% clip rate. I'm like, this can't be real. And he taught me how to do it. And as he would teach me how to do it, I would say, you can't do it. It'll never work in Dallas. It'll never work in Dallas. It'll never work in Dallas because this. I'm like, Bob, if I brought $5 million worth of Highlines through Dallas, I'm going to wind up having to send $3 million of them to you in Pennsylvania because I can't liquidate them. You're right, John, you can't do it. So he was tough on me. He talked to me like a dog. Oh, you're right. I don't know why I've been wasting my time with you. Click. And it just made me madder. And then I'd go try something new, and he'd call me, after the auction. He said, I watched, I was listening. You did this right, but you did this wrong, you did this wrong. I just sit there and take notes while I was talking to Bob. And he really has been an inspiration to me. So what people don't understand about me is I'm probably more Ace Rothstein. Remember the movie Casino? The guy setting the mark on the book? That's a lot of my job. And we're betting on car values. And I have 100 guys that are making bets with my money on car values. As any good wholesale company does, they're always in front of their money. You always have a little more bet margin, right, than you have ready. So you have to sell every week when you're doing that. And there was a day that we had 1,000 cars, 1,200 cars. It was just a year ago. And all of a sudden, Manheim's simulcast system failed. So this is a problem. When 90% of your buyers are simulcast, and we're like, the bids aren't coming in right, something's wrong. So we were having to use the floor bids, and people aren't at the live auctions post-COVID like they used to be. So we're lumping around, and we've got 8 lanes running or 7 lanes running. I think 8 lanes that day. And it's scary. And I'm like, why we're short selling this one, short selling that one. Everybody hold up. Let's pull the emergency brake on the train and see what's going on. So we wait for 30 minutes. They're supposed to fix it. We start it back up and it's still incorrect. People are texting me, I can't log in. I can't log in all over the country. So I have to make a decision. Can I afford to hold all these cars for a week? And remember, we'll just use 1,000 cars a week for Give Me the VIN. We've got 1,000 being presented right then to market, and we have another 1,000 in WIP, work in progress, transport, recon, being bought. So you have 2 sets of inventories. So I have 2,000 cars. And that's a lot of money, an average of $33,000 a car. I call my treasury management guy. I say, if I pull the plug on this, can we make it through the next week? Because we're talking about $50 million a sale. And he said, yeah, we can make it. And I was like, okay. So I pulled the plug on it and canceled the sale, and it scared the hell out of me. So I'm like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I had a crisis. And can I take 2,000 cars to the market in one setting? Or am I going to have to take this overlap of the extra week and third it up week after week after week? I said, let's make a splash out of it. Let's turn a crisis into a setting, and let's go for the world record. What is the record? Nobody knows. Call Guinness. Well, we really don't have a record for that. I can tell you one thing, nobody's ever done 2,000 in a week. Hell, nobody's ever done 1,000 in a week, besides General Motors, but no independent dealer has ever done 2,000 in a week. We called Guinness and got that lined up and started marking it. Be part of a world record, be part of a world record. It wasn't planned. I wasn't trying to break the world record. I brought that up to try to create enough marketing to do this and flush 2 weeks worth of cars in one setting. That next week, I think we sold 1,585 out of 1,700. I can tell you it wasn't that great of a financial experience. We did bring a little too much to the market, and it lowered the price. Very scary. It's like emergency landing a loaded airplane. Will this runway hold us? Going back to 30 years ago when I first started it, you're writing a draft for this car and you go sell it to this guy, and you're writing a draft for that car and you go sell it to this guy, and you've done all this business that hasn't cleared yet, so you're in front of your money. What if he doesn't pay? What if he doesn't pay? So I'm used to that lifestyle, but I'd never done it on $100 million or $75 million in one setting. I think that day we sold like $68 million. Rich, I hate to do this to you. I know this is your worst scenario, but I have to pull the plug. I can't. If I sell all these cars at this price, we're going to lose X, and you're not going to backstop it. And my guys are all going to come at me like, why did you do that? And we have the capital to sit on it, so we're going to pull the plug. He said, I completely understand. And then my California lane was starting in 2 hours, and the California general manager in LA called. He said, what are you doing? I said, we're going to try it, but I don't think so. And I said, if it glitches one time, we're pulling the plug. And right out of the gate, it glitched, and we canceled it. Then he called me back an hour from LA, and this was noon Texas time. He's like, hey, we've got it fixed. We're ready to go. I said, we're not going this week. We're just not going this week. We're just going to stop the train and reload and do it all next week. I had another real big money crisis during COVID when we moved facilities. And we forwarded all the mail to the new facility. Now remember, we buy tons of cars from consumers, and there's payoffs for those cars. So those banks do the e-titles and release them to the states. The states use what? Snail mail, because they're government agencies. So when we forwarded all that mail, we're getting all these titles from these banks, and that's our oxygen. When those titles show up, because we go cash them at the auction, we sold them 3 weeks beforehand. When all those titles show up, they got forwarded. And they went into a whirlwind, into a black hole. And we did not get titles from banks for, God, it might have been 60 days. It was unbelievable. I had called my state representative. We were tracking the mail bags. I went to, literally in person, went to New Orleans and did find some of them in a warehouse. And then we went to Arkansas and found some of them in a warehouse. This was told to me by the USPS. So we're like, here's where this place has been sorting the forwards. So I was like, there is somewhere with, $40 million worth of titles sitting in it. I've got to get them. We found about 10 in different places. And then one day, sure enough, here comes a big load. And the post guy's using dollies. I mean, we laid titles out all over the office. It was scary. That was like, if we make it through this financially, then we're solid. because we don't, you can't floor plan it. We don't have a floor plan. To do what we do, it's cash on the barrelhead. No bank wants to finance this.
Whether you see the car in person or buy it sight unseen, when you buy a pre-owned car, you need to get an inspection done by a qualified professional. And the nationwide network of trained inspectors from the Lemon Squad is the best way to accomplish that. They give you a great deal and a great bit of information about any car you're looking at very quickly. They've been supporting VINwiki now for 2 years, and I use them personally because when I'm buying a car, I need to know the full story. So check them out now at the link in the description below and use the code VINwiki for 10% off, and never buy a used car without the Lemon Squad.